Flow is essential for helping us to achieve big things in life. I'm Suzanne Rath, and this is Endures for your daily dose of endurance, leadership, and life lessons. So I have just come from a mountain bike ride and a little 40-minute sort of trail run hike after. And if you are watching the video, it is very, very wet here in far north Queensland, and I am absolutely filthy. Somehow managed to not destroy a new pair of trail runners. But mountain biking is something that I don't do enough of. I really love it when I do because it creates this flow state. So it's just challenging enough for me to not be able to think about a million other things. It puts me into a different brain state. It's really enjoyable. It's out in nature. And I feel like time just goes by at a different pace to what it does if I'm working on something. And I recently also read about the concept of the 12-hour walk. And this is another thing which is high in my mind right now as I train for my massive run from Sydney to Newcastle on the Great North Walk in Easter. Because I know that I'm going to be spending these vast amounts of time on my own. I know that I can't just be entertained listening to podcasts. I'm probably going to be sick of my music. My shocks are going to hurt my ears. And I'm going to go through all these varied emotions. And so I did a little bit of a deep dive into the concepts of flow and why the flow state is so important, and also how that integrates with this idea of the 12-hour walk. And I would love to share them with you. So the first thing about getting in a flow state is having that one clear aim. And this is something that I teach clients in keynotes, in workshops all the time. Focus is about putting your phone away, picking the one task and committing to that. No other distractions, nothing else. And then it's amazing how much you can get done with that one focused block of time, whether it's 25 minutes or it's 50 minutes. And that's when we get into that flow state. We change our brain state. As I mentioned before, that idea of being slightly hard and not stressful. The third thing is removing the micro interruptions. So being really ruthless with times that you don't take meetings, times you don't respond to things. None of us are actually that important or that necessary, but we create these conditions of being always available as leaders or owners that really don't serve us and don't serve our businesses or our lives all that well. Now, the next thing about flow is starting before you feel ready. So I don't know if you go for a run or a hike or a gym class or cycling or all of these things. How often do you think, oh, I'm totally ready for this now, versus the times you just don't feel like it? So my coach always says to start your run and see how you feel with the warm-up. And the same with mountain biking today. You know, we had quite a leisurely sleep in for far north Queensland time. We went out on the mountain bikes at 8 a.m, which normally in Cairns is about 1,000 degrees. We were up in the Atherton Tableland, so it was really quite pleasant. But we just started. And, you know, it's up on the trails midway through the ride that you find yourself in these states of flow. So momentum starts the flow. Now, another thing that's necessary for flow state is actually engaging our body and not just our mind. So that's really important for changing our brain state. So movement really is medicine. And then adding presence. So removing urgency and adding presence. So if we're constantly reacting rather than setting ourselves up in the position where we're being proactive and we are planning our deep work or our flowing tasks or whatever it might be, then we add presence. And I looked at how this integrated with that concept of the 12-hour walk, and it's pretty much as I would have expected. So the psychological phases he describes in the book are about 5. So the first one is noise. And that often happens at the start of a ride or a run or whatever. I mean, I know I certainly am thinking, I don't have time for this. I should have gone earlier. It's pretty hot. Yeah, the list can go on. Then he goes into resistance, so the boredom, the discomfort, the urge to quit, the pain, and often people reach for stimulation there. And just to clarify, in the 12-hour walk, he talks about going with no podcast, no music, nothing. Then the third stage is clarity. So patterns start to emerge, your thoughts slow, and you start seeing rather than thinking. The fourth stage is flow and insight. So again, that concept of flow again. So decisions clarify and identity questions surface and resolve. And then the fifth stage is integration. So you don't come back with answers, you come back with knowing. Now, we're going to have to wait another couple of months to see what level of knowing that I come back with from my run. Hopefully, first of all, it's knowing that I can complete it. But this weekend, I would love you to think on times when you have gotten into a flow state, what you've been doing at the time and how you can invite more of that into your life. And if you have done the 12-hour walk or a similar concept, I would love to hear. Thank you, and see you tomorrow for more from Endure.